Vladimir Putin says Russia has successfully tested a new nuclear-powered weapon that, quote, no one else in the world has, according to him. Moscow claims the weapon can stay in the air for 15 hours and can evade missile defenses. The announcement follows yet another night of strikes on Ukraine's capital. President Trump telling reporters on Air Force One this morning that Putin should be more focused on ending the conflict.
I don't think it's an appropriate thing for Putin to be saying either, by the way. He ought to get the war ended. A war that should have taken 1 week is now in its soon 4th year. That's what he ought to do instead of testing missiles.
CNN Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Matthew Chance is in Moscow. Matthew, what are you learning?
Yeah, this missile that has been successfully tested, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, it's an interesting missile. It's a cruise missile, and it's not just capable of carrying a nuclear warhead, but it's actually powered by a nuclear sort of reactor, a nuclear engine. And that gives it all sorts of advantages from a military point of view. It means it basically has an unlimited supply of fuel, so it can keep on going. The Russians say it can circumnavigate the world constantly, without running out of fuel, or at least for a long period of time. It ran for sort of 15 hours on this test and covered something like 8,700 miles, but the Russians say it can go a lot further than that. The disadvantage of it, though, is that it's obviously, as it goes through the skies, that nuclear reactor burns the fuel and it potentially releases radioactive waste through its exhaust system into the skies. Because it's a nuclear reactor, it's a little bit unpredictable, potentially unreliable as well. And it's just an experimental weapon. It's not in full development yet. It certainly hasn't been deployed. But the general context, Pam, for Russia sort of announcing tests like this is that it wants to underline just how much of a nuclear power Russia still is, particularly in a moment where diplomatic talks between the United States and Russia have stalled over the issue of the conflict in Ukraine. It wants to show that in the event of an escalation, if, for instance, the United States should give Tomahawk missiles, cruise missiles, to Ukraine, has been something that's been debated for the past several weeks, then Russia would have the ability and the capability to escalate. And so it's really just a bit more sort of saber rattling on the part of the Kremlin when it announces sort of experimental tests like this. Pam.
All right, Matthew Chance, thanks so much. Wolf.